All right, welcome to the Chartered Township of Comstock Parks and Recreation meeting for Monday, February 9th, 2026. The meeting is called to order, and the first item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, no objection. So moved. Next, public comments. Oh, seeing none. Move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or concerns? I had one item on the meeting minutes. Down on item I, just rewording, Chairperson Young presented the average score for the accumulated scores. So,
Gotcha.
minor detail. Okay. I have a question on the distribution report also. The HSA contribution, township contribution amount, is that something that happens every January? And what is that exactly, if you could explain?
Yes, that always happens at the beginning of the year. That's the township's contribution towards HSA for Katie, and Joe.
Okay.
Like a preload.
Yeah, yeah. Family is 5,000, single is 2,500, is that correct? Yeah. So that's one family and two singles.
Okay. All righty. That's all I have. Are there any other questions or concerns? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda
With the change to the minutes.
with the change to the minutes.
Okay, no objections. Motion passed. Okay, and then we come to presentations. Oh, okay. Seeing none, then moving to the business items. The first item is Neal Street Park fencing and landscaping.
So I took a look at the original layout for Neal Street from Tower Pinkster and started to get quotes from different companies to get the landscaping in place. And then I reached out to one of our seasonal park attendants, knowing that he had a long history in this matter. And after talking to him, meeting with him, and also Tammy Penny, who's like in charge of the cemetery, she had some good input regarding the trees and just kind of general review of what Tower Pinkster had originally suggested. A lot of the things were like if the plants were deer resistant, if watering was a major concern after that first year, and just kind of some of her knowledge, having certain trees in the cemetery, what's worked, what hadn't. So after that, we did change the layout from what Tower Pinkster originally suggested and arrived at this layout. We did put it out to 3 different companies. 2 were kind of the finalists, and then did land on Mulder's Landscaping as the company that I would like recommended for the project. And that quote is for $21,242.06. That includes all of the material, the installation. There's a 1-year warranty, and there's also the possibility of needing to grade and add topsoil to that site up there. I believe, and then they're going to stake the trees for about a year or a year. They did give us some discounts on the material, and we do have watering in place to be able to handle that. One of the issues at this park is there's no access to water and then no electricity, so a couple of things that we needed to kind of try to figure out. They ended up being the lowest bid that we received, and I think it is interesting that when it was roped into our big package with Neal Street, significantly less than what we would have paid in the whole project, so certainly saving a lot of money. So any questions?
Yes, sorry.
No,
How are they addressing the watering then? You say there have been some changes, or?
Dan has actually offered to, he has a 500-gallon water tank, and he's offered to water for that full year.
Okay, that's good.
Can we get a copy of that?
I did not make a copy, but,
Hey, what are we buying
Yep.
for $21,000?
yep, here you go. Or I'm sorry, I can read it if that would help.
I mean, is it just trees or?
So looking at the layout, we have the Arbor Vitae trees, we have the service berries, we have river birch, and the ornamental grass. And it looks like it's a total of about 64. Thank you.
Is that the quote?
That is
You want
the
me to go
quote.
make copies?
Sure.
I can do that.
Sure, thank you. Maybe you want to make a quote then of, I don't know, the tree stuff, sorry. This is the fencing, that'll come up in a minute.
Well, Brett's here, not here, but I have a question about our budget and where we had
So,
established it.
we budgeted 60,000.
Okay,
for
so this
the-
is already,
Yep, it's been
built within-
included.
yeah, okay, good.
So we're certainly well below
yeah.
that.
And then my only other question would be more from a species standpoint, if there's any need for like hardwoods or, larger formatted trees.
So, we went with these trees for that deer resistant, that we are still going to add a fence in, but this is trying to add that sound barrier and just a natural difference between the cemetery and the park. I'm sure Dan could answer questions a little bit more about these specific trees.
I believe that the larger species, they had figured an eastern pine, and there actually is a concern about the canopy of the tree when it comes down toward the ground. The homeless, to be quite frank, love to get underneath there, store different things that you don't want, and even themselves seek shelter underneath kind of a
Yeah.
So we went with the arborvitae, which is deer resistant. There are several arborvitaes out there, but this one is deer resistant, and all your other species. This gives just a good characterization of the area. If you do all one thing, it looks blah. This kind of breaks it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking more along the lines of like, maple or something along, other than the,
They get too big, actually.
Oh, okay.
Their canopy, a tree like that gets an oak, a maple. whatever.
Excessive,
The canopy gets huge.
Okay.
Okay, now there is one thing that I would like to add to Katie's presentation is this really doesn't concern any of the lawn areas, okay? They're up the park. The lawn areas, I think if you want to add some trees later, you could go out into the more areas of the
near the walk path or what have you.
things like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Okay.
You could add things like that later. So we had figured on, or my suggestion to them is, we'd like to get this done first thing in the spring. If you look at the long-range forecast, it's supposed to be a very hot May and June this year, more than normal. I have this big water tank that I have, and I would want to water those things right away the day that they plant them and actually carry it all through the year. But it's not a good time to put a lawn in without irrigation. So my water tank is good for what they call deep watering for plants like this, but it's not good for like a sprinkler system.
Yeah, okay.
So I was willing to cover, at least a full year make sure that these plants, you protect your investment. Make sure
Take root, yeah.
Because they're not going to make it if you don't water them. It's just all there is to it.
And these are low maintenance in general?
None of these will have to be trimmed at all.
Yeah.
The only thing, the ornamental grass will have to be cut down in the late fall,
Yeah.
early winter. Other than that, that's it. There is a cedar mulch that will be underneath the plant material, okay? And that will help keep the weeds out naturally, but they're gonna have to be treated and that kind of thing to keep the weeds out in the mulch area. I suggested strongly that you go with a cedar mulch, which is the best one to get, rather than the hardwood mulch, that kind of thing. So it covers everything but lawn areas, which you will address later in the fall.
And you're from Mulder's Landscape or Landscape Supply?
I had, when I got out of college, I had my own landscape business for 15 years. And then I got out of that and went into the greenhouse industry. I had my own, I worked for 2 or 3 different greenhouses in the area. And then was able to buy my own and had ran that for a little over 30 years. And now I'm retired.
Gotcha.
So my background is landscape and greenhouse experience.
Yeah. So,
Dan lives right on Campbell Lake. He has.
oh, great, okay.
A piece of
Yeah.
property
Yeah.
that.
I'm just down from the park of Robert Morris.
Yeah, okay, great.
So, I planned a few things. So anyway, that's kind of the long and short of it, but there's pitfalls. I've been able to help Katie a little bit with some of the pitfalls that you can make, like trying to put a lawn in the spring with no irrigation. That's just a big failure right off the get-go. So there was, I think Brett had said something about some water being brought up to that area in a couple of years. Is that right, Katie?
So I believe we're trying to get the city to add water to that even neighborhood, but that seems like it's 2027 at the earliest. So I'm not sure that we want to wait that long, given what this piece of land looks like with the grass and the pickleball, or no grass, the pickleball court, and especially I think the playground. We're going to want to do something there.
So where these X's are on here, this is all a tree?
That would be grass.
That would be grass, okay.
Yes, I didn't color it in, but.
Okay.
So inside the walking path, the plan is to plant grass. There's the long stretch of that pink color on the other side of the driveway, and that's going to be planted grass. I haven't gotten quotes for any of that. I take that back. Last fall, I did get one quote from a company, but it doesn't sound like what I was originally asking for is what we necessarily want to do. And that was quite a bit of money, but I'll redo that project quote and see what we get.
This is between the cemetery portion
Yep.
and
Yep.
the park portion.
Yep.
And that's all of these.
Yep.
If I can add, the downside of trying to bid out a plan like this year is the snow. You can't see anything. And so contractors were very, a little elusive as far as wanting to do anything about the lawn area. And that's why I think Katie made a good decision to back off on that. That can be done. I would recommend that not being done anyway till the fall. That's your best time to sow grass if you're not going to irrigate it, which I believe the other parks don't have irrigated lawn areas. So that would be in consistency with the rest of what you have in the other parks. But the fall is the best time to get a better stand on your grass because Mother Nature, it's cooler nights. Typically it's a little bit more wet in the fall. And so without being able to visually see it, because it could be rocky, it could be, you never know if you got to add a bunch of topsoil, grade it, do whatever. Now the plant material, obviously that's a different animal. You can definitely bid that out. But grass, it's a little bit more, they're apprehensive because they can't actually see what's there to work with.
But there's no problem with these various plantings, even though you can't really see yet what's.
Plant material, all it is just real simple. It's keep them watered. Keep them watered. And a lot of times what happens is people don't know how to water correctly. You water flowers differently than you water plant material. Plant material, you don't water the vegetation at all. It's what they call a deep watering. It's all about the roots. You got to keep the roots wet. So, that can easily be done.
Okay, and when will all this begin?
If you approve this quote, then I will let the company know when we'll get on their schedule, but the thought is for the spring.
So April-ish, May, okay.
So what you're looking for is an approval of the Mulder's bid.
Yes, please.
I mean, is there more discussion?
I think I'm good.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve the bid from Mulder's Nursery in the amount of $21,242.06. I don't know if we want to add a little bit, just in case something unforeseen. Make it up to 23,000 or something, or go with that exact amount, I mean.
I know that we're budgeted for 60,000 for this specific project, so if you wanted to go up a little bit for any kind of cushion room, but I don't anticipate needing it.
I'd go for the number for now.
Just go for the exact number for now, sure. And then if we have to approve a little bit more, all right. So I move to approve the $21,242.06 for the Mulder's Nursery bid on the landscaping around Neal Street Park.
No objections? Okay, motion passed.
All right, if we could stay on this layout for one more thing. So looking at the original plan was to also add a fence to this spot. So it'd be the driveway, the plant material, and then there's a thin green line that would separate the the plantings from the cemetery. We're talking about doing that after all the plantings had taken place. And for that, I'm asking for Fence Consultants of West Michigan. I asked 3 different companies for quotes, got 2 back. Fence Consultants is the one I'm asking for approval for. The other company is a bit lower, but talking through, we've used them in the past. I believe, I don't know if the township has used them in the past, but there's just been a little inconsistencies, and I feel like with this specific project and the flexibility that might be needed, and talking with the Fence Consultants of West Michigan, I'm just more comfortable going with the slightly higher bid with them. And I got 2 looks, the black chain link fence and the black aluminum, and I think we should go with the black chain link fence, and that total is from Fence Consultants.
19,804, is that it?
I thought there was. Yes, thank you.
19804 with an option to add bottom rail.
Does anyone remember the name of the company that helped us with moving our fence over at, is that Mulder's?
I wouldn't have thought so, but now I don't want to say yes or no. Not, because I'm not sure.
Cut the trail? I think it was Mulder's. I don't know if it was the same thing. I just didn't know if there was, combining the 2, there might be some cost savings.
Does Mulder's do any fencing?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to my knowledge.
I'm not aware of them doing fencing.
I also have a question. Why chain link? I mean, is it,
The
do
black-
we want a barrier for, I mean, we're putting all the planting there. It also is kind of a visual barrier.
I did think about that. If we have all this planting, do we actually need a fence? But I think it's just that one extra step to make sure that people aren't cutting through from one spot to the next, just trampling things, just kind of being in places that they shouldn't be. There's not going to be any burial sites on just that other side of the fence, but I think just for the sake of it being a cemetery, just kind of having that extra barrier.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
But I
okay.
mean versus a solid fence.
It's just more expensive.
Okay. Just-
Where I think a black, I think there's a difference between, your like gray color chain link fence and your black chain link fence. The chain link also kind of goes with the other fencing that we have.
You have the black here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then 6 foot is the highest we can do in the township ordinances, so that's why it's 6 foot.
Okay.
I found that one out.
You said you were asking for 3 bids and you have yet to receive one, or?
Correct. So I have these 2 that are in front of you. I don't necessarily want to say the other person's name because I think they do a fine job, but I think for this project specifically, I'd rather go with Fence Consultants of West Michigan.
Question, just between the chain link and the,
Can you say that word? Aluminum?
aluminum, yeah, black, the ornamental fence, just, you're recommending the chain link just because of the cost, or is
It's
there
a significant
functional-
cost
Right, but
difference.
is there a functional difference? I'm looking at the 2 pictures of the difference.
Sure.
The ornamental is obviously prettier, but
The chain link is supposed to be easier to repair if need be.
it looks like it's better security as well. And an animal barrier.
Sure,
If
yeah.
that helps, if we're looking for that, but just curious. If it was all cost or if there was another,
I think just overall considerations that the black chain link isn't bad.
it definitely looks nicer than the aluminum. A little more professional, I like it.
You mean sterling? This is the commercial aluminum sterling? This? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is nice. So is this budgeted as well as part of the
Yep,
original package?
and well below what we budgeted for.
Okay. Is there, let's see, what is the status of our entry gate? And kind of on the other side, are we set with that?
Yep, that was approved last meeting. We're moving forward with it. We just haven't finalized the install yet.
Okay, and there's no additional fencing that needs to be over along the road, on the side or anything?
That's not in any of the original plans.
Okay.
So if that's something that you want me to look into.
No, just curious,
Okay.
just to make sure that this fence then will be the last one that we'll need in the area. Are you assuming that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, is there a motion to approve the recommendation for $19,804 for a fence?
Just one other.
Not yet?
question. Is there any assurance that we are putting it exactly where, I mean, we're not gonna have any later
To move
problems with it not being in the right place?
So we're actually going to go out and stake all the plant material, well, I don't know the plant material. We're going to go stake it out before planting begins. So we'll have that hard line and we'll make sure that the fencing company is also aware. But for fencing, I did go out and meet with both of these companies and we walked the area.
Just, because of what happened at Green Meadow where we found the fence had been
Yeah,
put in the wrong area and we had to pay to have it moved.
Sure. Well, thankfully, we own both of these properties.
He's gonna come forward and say the fence doesn't belong there. Okay.
Was the option 1 addition desired?
I don't think so, but to me, I think it's enough just to have that first spot but this is where it comes down to, I think, the
that's the
board's
bottom
preference
rail.
on,
Yeah, the bottom rail.
yeah.
Does that provide a little more, I don't know about fences, does that provide more protection from people kicking in the bottom of the fence and
Yeah, but I
that
mean,
sort of thing, animals digging and all that?
I think we would be fine without it. I think
Okay.
in that, what it's typically used for is that application, but people aren't going to be fighting to get back and forth between the 2 parks, I don't think, yeah,
Let's hope.
yeah. Yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve the $19,804 to Fence Consultants of West Michigan.
Objections? Motion passed. Okay. Okay, ready to move on to the Winky softball complex contract renewal.
I met with the County Parks Director last week, and they are giving us another one-year contract. The only difference between this one and last year's is just the typical 2% increase in the fee. Other than that, the rest of the contract reads the same, so I don't think we need to take it to the lawyer by any means. So I'm looking for acceptance here, and then it'll go to the township board, and then I will send it over to the county. In the long run, conversations with the county, where to begin? So talking to the Parks Director, there was just some things that I learned that I maybe got mixed up just through communication, but it sounds like the township is the one who went to the county asking for the lights to be updated. I think from the county's perspective, they're just more concerned about the safety of some of the poles, whether it's definitely less than 10, it's probably more like 1 or 2. From there, it sounds like it's kind of up to us what we want to do with that park, but also them wanting us to give them more of a long-term commitment, whether it's still just that 5-year plan, but just not this, we don't want to put money into the lights because we're thinking about going somewhere else. So it does seem like if we need to, that we do need to update a couple of the poles, and it sounds like that will be needing to come from us. If we decide that we want to take all the lights out completely and that's it, it sounds like the county is okay with that. If we want to take all the lights out but update just a couple, that we could do that. We don't have to have all 4 fields lit. With that, he had told me that the township, he was unsure of dates, and I haven't gotten those plans from him yet, but I guess that we had sent the county plans for expansion if we did want to add more fields, and I'm not entirely sure what those plans look like. So it sounds like there's a lot of room to kind of figure out what we want to do with this property, but just sounds like that he just wants to know that we're invested in this park that we're using.
Could you please review again what the poles mean? The poles currently are unsafe, is that correct?
They're wooden poles, and they're rotting. They're at least 20 years old, if not 30, it sounds like. It sounds like our program started in the 90s, which I thought I was off on that timeline too, so.
So then for safety reasons, they need to be replaced?
Correct. And I guess with that conversation, I guess it came up that, well, if we're gonna replace these poles, some of the issues with the current situation, the poles I think are set at 40 feet, and ideally they should be at a minimum of 60 feet. Then we're also using whatever kind of lights it is that we could upgrade to the LED lights. Talking to some of the players out there, the pole being so short that when the ball goes up so high, then it gets past the lights and they can't see. So.
Okay, I think I recall a discussion about lights once before, and somewhere we have an old number for the budget of what that would be.
So last year, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
I did start to get estimates on replacing the lights, and one estimate is around $300,000, and it's all the way up to almost $900,000. And I think that is a low number, that either of those projects, more than likely that number would go up.
Is that just the lights or the lights and the poles?
The lights and the poles, it would be the whole project.
Okay.
And that would be to replace every current pole and light that's out there.
Correct. So there is that kind of wiggle room deciding on what we want to do. Do we want to just take out all the lights, which I don't exactly recommend, but is it that we only have one field that has the brand new lights and make do with the other fields? So I don't think this is really we're making a decision tonight, but just trying to figure this out, that they do want something different than last year and this year moving forward.
And when you say they, you're referring to?
The county.
The county wants some sort of plan from the township?
Correct.
Specific to the lights?
I think it starts with the lights, but I think overall, like partnership isn't exactly the right word, but
If we continue.
To maintain things.
Continue this
Correct.
rental of this.
correct. One of the things that we were talking about was the difference between like leasing this property that we're doing or renting it, where the lease is just this, I think it's $1,800 maybe, or more of a rental fee to where we're paying this annual rental fee. And then ultimately, if we did want new lights or whatever it is that needed to be upgraded, then that would be more on the county that they would end up doing. But at this kind of minimal, we're just renting the facility for bare minimum cost coverage for them, that they don't see it's their responsibility to do some of these other pieces.
So would that work? I didn't think about that before. Would that work with the program to only have like 2 of the fields with lights?
I haven't, I'd like to talk to some more people before that. I think yes, because typically we are only using really 3 of the fields. The one field is more of a practice field that would need just more stuff going into it, regardless of just the lights. And then thinking about when we would be using the lights, I don't think we would be needing 3 fields to have these brand new 60-foot light poles.
Because there are not that many night games, or?
Yeah, usually if you're playing a night game, it's like those championship games that tournaments aren't getting started so late that they need lights on for all the fields for hours at a time. That would put a constraint on us because then that is what it is. But looking at other facilities, some fields don't have any lights. So we would still be able to offer lights. Talking to some staff, the idea of having night games would be fun, but having the county as the overall owner, we would have to get certain things approved if we went past 11 o'clock, I believe it's in the contract. So just different programming things that you can do depending on the facility that you have.
I mean, when I was asking Danielle about why we're getting less bookings, she said that a lot of the organizations want more fields.
That's kind of the only thing that I can think of right now, because it seems like tournaments are down across the board. I actually talked to Danielle the other day asking about some of this stuff, and she had said that tournaments are just kind of down everywhere. So I don't really think it'd be a great idea to invest in creating more fields. I think we just need to work on what we have at the moment.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, in terms of limiting our fields by
Sure.
lighting, I mean, then we're reducing the number of usable fields for some activities, right? I mean,
Well, we'd still have the 4 fields for the hours of daylight. It would just be the final games that we would only have 1, 2, when it comes down to cost. That's why I'm saying that. So I don't think we're going to have our picture perfect ball field scenario. So trying to figure out what do we want to do that's reasonable that we can make work.
But if in the long run, our goal was to build up the usage of the complex again to what it was, I mean, if that's even possible, I don't know. I mean, we would need more
Yes.
fields that were lit, I mean, that had lighting available, or not necessarily?
I still feel like not necessarily.
Or it seems like, I mean, you have to look at your demand and the pattern there, but maybe 1 for playoff games, I can see going into the night, but until we get, a wave of participation, it doesn't make sense to.
Book the fields, I mean, are they saying, do they inquire about lights, or is that?
I don't think that that's the question that they're asking when they're booking fields. I think it's nice to know, but so most of these teams are booking fields in the summer, so daylight is like 10 o'clock, right? So for them to be asking about, are lights going to be open until, or available, but then we also have this in our contract that we can only really be there till 11. So there's just a lot of constraints that we have that I don't think the number of fields that are lighted is necessarily, it's important, but it's not, we need all 4 fields lit to make the situation work.
But if the worst of the poles are kind of interspersed through all of the different, I mean, if you have to replace a couple here, a couple there, a couple there, you're gonna either lose some of the field, or you're going to, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if it was just one field that needed if the lights needed to, if the poles were unsafe in one particular field or two particular fields, but if they're kind of
Dispersed within,
dispersed
yeah,
among the fields, then how do you?
microphone. Was there any conversation about splitting the cost? Okay.
Is there, to her point, is there one that's worse than the others?
There's at least two that are like, okay, we really need to look at these. Not necessarily like it's coming down this year, but
Yeah.
within the next
Two poles or two fields?
2 polls.
Two poles.
Yep,
Right.
10 polls at like a maximum. I think when all this started, it was, well, if we're gonna be replacing poles, let's look at a full-scale upgrade, and this has just been a snowball effect.
I only ask that because maybe, I know field one's kind of like the primary field. The quote that you had was for all 4 fields?
All of it, yep.
So I'm wondering, I know you maybe save some costs, but maybe we could do it one field over 4 years. It would maybe be easier to budget.
Or 2 years, or, I'm sorry, or two fields.
Right,
Yeah.
if we only ended up doing 2, what I'm saying is do one field, see how it works, do another field, and maybe that's enough, or maybe we keep going, I don't know.
So he was saying that, and again, that I got quotes from one company. I think this is a much bigger project that it would be more extensive than just talking to this one company, what they can
Right.
do. But if we're gonna do the fields, then bringing a company in one time to do it is gonna save money as opposed to
Right.
coming back and forth.
Right, I get that. I just know that it would be easier to pay for
Right,
over
yes.
time.
Yeah.
Without borrowing.
Right. They did also talk about if we wanted to do all 4 fields, that they could do, like, working around our field schedule, so they could start on one field where it's just one field that's not being able to be used, but the other 3 can be functional, and working through it that way.
And the quote that you got, was that for wooden poles as well, or is that for fiberglass poles or something
It
different?
was a range, so some of it was, I believe the low quote was the 40-foot wooden poles. The high range was like 50, I want to say, it might have been 60-foot, I don't think, maybe aluminum, now that's in my mind. I
Yeah.
can't remember the steel,
Gotcha.
what it was.
But
I think-
if 40 foot is not a desirable,
Yeah, from playing out there, they have to be higher than what they
then
are.
why would we even consider 40 feet?
Because it was $400,000. It's just a lot of money
If
for,
we're gonna do it, they have to.
agreed.
Yeah, if it
Yep.
still doesn't,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
you spend that much and it still doesn't make the fields desirable for,
Correct.
Yeah,
was this in our, I mean, wasn't lights in the CIP?
not that I remember, it's never been in there. We can add it this year when we have the call for projects, just to get it on the books.
I know it's been said that our master plan can like change over the course of the years, but it is in our master plan to address this. I'm not entirely sure what that meant when they put it together.
I really think we need to gain data. I mean, we're making decisions or speculating. I think we really need to have some solid numbers with the understanding that we may do 2 fields, we may do 1, a couple scenarios that they can help walk us through as a electrical supplier or lights or whomever.
So to me, it seems like it's the same thing with all the other bid experience I've gotten in the last year. When you're asking for just a blanket, this is what we're trying to do, it's really hard to compare apples to apples. And it's not them telling me what needs to be done, but me telling them what needs to be done, and not knowing what needs to be done. It's hard to get the company to read my mind and know like what we want to get it, is what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, is there like a softball committee or something, like a national committee that might be able to recommend someone to help us evaluate what we have and what needs to be changed or what is within regulations or otherwise?
Well, I guess we do know what size or what height pole that we
Yeah.
want. And I do know like the candle light that needs to be within a range of our rec play. So like I have those 2 things down, but when you're talking about, do we do 1 field or 2 fields or all 4 fields, or that's where I don't know how to approach a company when it's just,
Yeah. I would think someone on site, I mean, even we might be able to look at the poll and go, yeah, that one's probably got to go.
and we've done that.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
Yeah,
with a company.
okay.
Okay, well, my concern is safety too. Is there, an urgency in particular with 1 or 2 fields or certain poles that we just have to take down regardless?
So 1 or 2 polls needs to be looked at within like that 3 to 5 year Comstock.
Okay.
I think I don't remember how many total poles that there are, but when the one company was looking at it, it's no more than 10 need to be replaced. We're seeing that there's 1 to 2 that need an immediate fix or replacement.
But we don't know which of the ballparks they're in.
Yes, yes. One of them is, I guess that's field 2. And then I don't remember what that other one is, but the main priority right now, it's at field 2, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the baseball leagues that are out there from Battle Creek and all through, is there a tendency to have more and more games and want them at night, or is it dwindling? Are we seeing a fall off in participation? And
I think night games apparently seem like a lot of fun to a lot of people. I'd like to be in bed by then, but from the programming that talking with Katie and our umpire in chief, that night games would be a huge hit. It'd be so much fun. But then that's where I didn't approach this with the county yet, but seeing that 11 o'clock curfew, I don't know how much wiggle room there is with that. So that would be one thing that I'd want to address with them. If we're going to go into putting up all these lights, is that 11 o'clock flexible if we have a good site plan, what we're going to do to accommodate people being there at 2, 3 in the morning. Just, I think lots of questions and just trying to get an understanding on what we want as a board, what we don't want, what we're able and willing to do, all of that.
But even without you're calling them night games at 11, but even the later games, you need the lights in the summer. Maybe not the 6 and the 7:15, but
earlier in the season or
yeah,
later.
The 8:30 games, you definitely need the lights. And I always preferred it because it was cooler in the summer.
Sure.
Some people drive far away, so they want the early game. It just all depends on the team.
Sure.
Fall ball, you want the day because it's colder.
Sure. Oh, I see what
Anyway.
you're saying, yep.
Yeah. It just depends on people's preference. It's all over the place.
Right.
But now the other component was that we would be reluctant to spend $300,000 on new lights if for some reason the county was going to say, this is the last year, we're going to have a contract with you. So we wanted some
Right.
sort of
So one of the
assurance that-
sure. So I'm sorry, I keep cutting you
no.
off. So one of the options is that we can do a longer term lease.
Okay, that was
that is
discussed.
on the table. Yes.
Okay, I mean, a 50-year lease or something, or,
I think it was said 25, but it wasn't like
okay.
we were just friendly conversation, I'd say at that point.
Yeah, so if we were going to do, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but if you were going to light 2 fields, would it be 1 and 3? I'm just thinking back to when.
I've never played softball out there. This is where I would start to talk to people who have played out there.
Gotcha.
Amy is our umpire in chief, and she's played softball for many, many years across the state, and I think her opinion would be valid. And
Yeah. I just know from my experience, 1 is definitely in the best condition. That's the best one to play on, and 4 is the worst.
right.
2 and 3 are, I prefer 3 over 2.
Sure. So that's where some of these other things come into play.
So
I have learned that
Yes.
our outfield fence is way too far for like a softball field. So one of the things that's been proposed with a tournament group is actually buying removable fencing for a softball game. So I don't know if that's also a hindrance that people are renting our fields because there is that longer softball. The outfield goes out longer for a softball game than what it would for a baseball game. So there's multiple things that we can do with this park that could help us in certain ways, but it's that whole, are we putting money into a facility that's not ours, or do we want to take care of, I think when you think of Comstock, you think of softball, right? So do we want to continue that legacy, or do we want to back away from it?
Who are we competing with for rental of fields in the area? I mean, do you know, like, who else?
I would say it's probably Battle Creek, the city of Kalamazoo.
City of Kalamazoo has what, Versluis fields? Are those still? Okay.
Yeah, I think Eastwood allows, or I don't know if they rent or what they do for baseball. Not
But I mean,
softball, for baseball.
these different facilities should be able to maybe shed some light on, on what they're finding is, in demand or what. I don't know. I mean, do you ever have any conversations with anybody else that they're? having trouble renting fields, or that people aren't renting them because they're lacking certain things, or?
I don't know those answers.
Okay.
All right.
This is that starting off point, trying to get some direction on, to make a decision, what is it that we want to know? What are we willing to do, not do?
Well, I certainly like a contract that's longer than a year.
And that's,
With the county, and so then it's a question of how far out we go, and then it's a question of budgeting and paying for something over that time where it's not, going to be a difficult thing to budget. We have to do something because of the safety issue in some areas, so I guess the question that I have is, 10 years, 25 years longer, I don't know what the county would be thinking.
it sounds like they're very open, but they just want something from us.
I think we should commit some time and energy into a proposal that would be a scenario that we are able to replace either one or two of the field lights with the long term of maybe the third. But I think we need to have some kind of a formalized proposal. And I think in addition to that, from the county, we would want something along the lines of a 20 to 25 year continuation of our, the proposal or what have you, so.
One other thing that I kind of forgot to mention. So it sounds like one of the things that we're not really adhering to in our contract is this whole issue of sound coming from Winky that is sprinkling across into the rest of the park. So they're okay with the verbiage that we have for this contract, but before our season will start in April, before that, I have to give him some sort of agreement on our sound policy.
Sound policy of cheering fans?
Like
Or,
amplified music, sorry.
okay, ball field music.
Yes.
Okay.
So is this from, I'm sorry, is this from people at the dog park and the splash pad?
And soccer.
There's soccer going on at the same time as softball?
Yeah,
Just
some of the morning, I think.
Well, maybe on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I've never gone on the weekends, so I forget about the weekends. Wednesday night is what I'm used to.
So it sounds like because the county is strict on the music that, or not to say music, the amplified music that they're allowing at River Oaks, for us to have a free-for-all on the Winky side is not okay.
Okay, I was just curious.
I've been at River Oaks Park for soccer games now for years and years and years, and I've never heard any noise or
Yeah.
sound from the ball.
That's the, oh gosh, it's who do you, one group is telling me one thing and another group is telling me another thing. I have not personally been there to experience it either way, so.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy enough to enforce now that we know. I was just curious where the complaints were coming from.
I'm going to bring this up. So currently, with the current lease, the county pays the electricity at the softball fields, or we do?
We do.
Okay.
There will be some cost savings if we go to LT.
Yeah, that's what I
I
was
did,
wondering. We paid it or they paid it.
Yeah.
They're going to reap the benefits going to LED.
Yeah.
Danielle actually had done this work from 2021 to February of 2024. She does have a breakdown of the cost for electricity at Winky. So I don't know how to necessarily break this up, and I didn't make a copy. I'll remember to do something like that next time. But it looks like the highest cost is under 500, closer to that, like 490, with low cost being in the months that you would expect around $75
Per
month.
month.
For the entire,
Yep,
the whole park.
yes.
Well, that's not exorbitant, is it?
It's not a ton of money, but it's there.
Okay. I like the idea of going to 60 foot. Is that minimum or is that what's recommended, 60?
I don't
You don't have
remember,
to
because I think 90 is actually what it needs to be, but I don't think I got a quote for 90 because that
Right.
was so much money.
Whatever it's supposed to be, and then a pole that will last longer, and LED lights. If we're going to really invest, I think that's what we need to look at. What it's supposed to be
Sure,
versus what we can get away with.
okay.
And then I know it's cheaper to do it all at once, but maybe a quote for like field one to start, because that's like. And if it's ridiculous versus doing them all like per field, then maybe we just have to save up and do it. I don't know. But it'd be interesting to see what just one field would be.
Sure.
We have to start passing ahead at the game.
Right.
I have a question with this contract. When do they expect it to be signed? Approved and signed, and in lieu
As at the latest, it needs to be in effect, we start in April, and it still needs to go to the township board
right,
for their approval, so.
because I'm thinking of, it sounds like we're kind of heading towards some lights, some investment, then I'd like to extend it out, at least 5 years or more, than keep updating it, as if we're going to go forward and put money into it.
Why did you choose a 1 year?
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
they chose a 1 year they proposed a 1 year the last time. I didn't fight any of it because this is the same conversation that we had last year, but then I was gone for a couple of months.
I think we've had 1 year contracts all along, I think.
They used to be 4 or 5. It was just last year and this year that they went to 1, and it's just trying to buy time to figure out what we want to do.
Yeah.
I still feel like it's a good idea to go with 1 because it'll give us a little time to do some research on some of this, but if you feel differently.
I like the idea of 1 year because we're considering this, and then I'm assuming we'll have a decision sometime this year. And if we do decide to upgrade, then we can talk about a longer lease. Well, especially if we're going to upgrade, we need to talk about a longer lease.
It really comes into solid
Yeah.
planning.
Okay, if we communicate that to them, that we're working on
Well,
what
that's
kind of
the-
upgrades that we
yes,
can
that
do.
is
And
the
then
expectation.
the next year, we
Yep.
want to,
Yep, that is the hope from
so they
there.
don't just write us off as thinking we're not
No.
interested. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't need to hold up to the 1 year contract.
Right, I just need your approval, signature, and township board.
Okay, yeah, but they are making the decision to hold it to 1 year,
Yeah.
waiting for us to commit
Yeah.
to improvements, so I can say we are working on
Yeah,
committing to.
no, I can relay that with it.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay,
So then, but then do you need to does there need to be a motion to accept the contract and sign it? Or was that the no?
I don't see why not if we're just going to do another year. Well, 10 months at this point. But
Okay,
and then next year we can do the longer term if we do the light. I'm assuming we're going to do something with the lights. It sounds like everybody wants to, so.
okay,
I think
That's my-
we're saying that we're committed to softball.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we should approve this at 1 year and then reevaluate and do a longer term next
Do
year.
we need to set the turtle clock so that we're tracking that we're not extending out next year, saying the same?
Probably, yeah.
Because it is the same conversation in more than one case, so. So do you think by June or sooner that we might have some information about? I mean, I don't know what it takes to get it.
right. I'm probably gonna ask for a little bit of help after this meeting to figure out just a little direction and figure some of this stuff out. Talking to the county, they're using a different electric company that we're using, so maybe it's not just talking to one company, but talking to multiple companies to try to get a better bid, but just lots of things to try to figure out. But I understand your point of not waiting until January, that doesn't make sense, wait until the winter to start looking at this again.
Yep. All right.
So we need.
okay, we need a
Yeah.
motion. Is there a motion to approve the 1 year contract? Winky?
I'll do that. I move we approve the River Oaks Winky Softball Complex contract between the County of Kalamazoo and the Charter Township of Comstock as presented.
2026.
Yes, as presented.
Okay. No objections? The motion passed.
Yeah, but to clarify, you submit that to the township, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
And then it goes.
Okay, should we set a target for having our information that's necessary for us to decide?
Honestly, I'll start working on this week to try to figure out how to proceed, talking to different people in the softball world to try to figure out what we need, talking to the different electric companies, trying to get quotes and whatnot. So if you want it to be a monthly update until there's a decision, so you know where I'm at in the progress, but that's how I'm planning on working on it is.
Yeah, I'm fine if you just put it in your monthly report, your written report. We can read all about it.
Okay. Is there any reports or correspondence? None? Okay, that brings us to the revenue and expenditure report and director's report.
To highlight something in the programming report, we had a pretty big win last week. We finally figured out with our insurance company to where we don't have to require insurance for our vendors. You know, just keep asking and we'll figure that out. So yeah, that was pretty good news.
So just this whole thing with the Veterans Monument in Pier Park is staying for the time being?
Yes, we are keeping it there. I have no intention of moving it. The VFW at this point has no intention of moving it.
Okay, so that whole
Yeah.
died out.
Yes. I don't believe, I apologize, there is no Memorial Day update on these reports. So we did meet with the VFW last week, and I don't think it's going to be as big of a project as we were anticipating last year when they kind of seemed to be pulling out from doing the whole parade. Basically, it sounds like everything's staying the same with who's responsible for what, just asking for a little bit more support day of with the parade. So that's, and we are changing the route. I guess that's kind of big. So instead of going all the way to Pier Park, talking to the VFW, they don't need Pier Park and the memorial to do their service at the end. So we're going to end at the VFW, and they're going to do the service that they have there. And then it's still in the plan to serve hot dogs at Merrill Park.
So we start at the VFW and end at the VFW?
They start at the church on Comstock Avenue near Sprinkle.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we talked to Dean and we're gonna go down River Street as we usually do. But
Comstock.
I'm sorry? Comstock Avenue, River Street, sorry, I jumped ahead of.
Yeah, and then I got you in that.
River Street, and then go in that back entrance right past the old Comerica. That way they can line up and then also exit out and get back to wherever they need to go without having to actually turn around like they did at Pier Park. And then he said he could do the ceremony. He's got a little grassy area there. He'll invite people in the VFW if they want, and then Katie or someone will tell people they can go back down to Merrill Park for the event that we have down there that's TBD.
A light celebration.
Yes, yeah. We just wanted to make sure it was an appropriate event, not necessarily a celebration, but like a remembrance, and Dean was perfectly fine. He was very accommodating, actually.
I have a couple of questions. One on the DNR landing. We still have issues there.
We sure do.
Do we want to consider putting up a camera?
I thought we had one there.
We had a camera there. The issue with the cameras are the batteries die very quickly. We don't really have I don't know how to say it, the ability, to manage these trail cameras that are up in the tree.
okay.
So, with different staff, different things, right now, we don't have one up there, I'll say.
So we have a guardrail stolen.
Yeah. I thought for sure they were coming back for the whole thing, but just 2 pieces, you know.
Could we have like greater visibility from the road, perhaps?
We actually did talk about that with how we had discussed the prescribed burns at Robert Morris, that maybe this is an area where we'd want to do something like that. It sounds like this is a very, I don't know if it's come up in the homeless committee, but this is a bad area for some of that.
Okay.
I have a question for my own curiosity. How long have we had softball 5 days a week? Is that new or is that?
That's new.
I was going to say, I noticed
Coming
that.
2026.
Yeah, I remember only Monday and Wednesday, but that's cool, 5 nights a week. Guess we better look at some lights.
Just trying to make different changes, looking at different things that are happening in the community. We're hoping this works for us.
Cool, thank you.
Indoor archery, are we looking into signage for this or ads, or how are you advertising the new archery sessions indoors?
Well, we started. So usually we put out the yard signs, but with this year and the winter that we've had, I just figured they would either get lost, blow over. There's just too much snow to put those out. So typically we email the people that have taken the program before. We post on Facebook, and that's kind of the limited marketing that we're able to do.
Okay. Comstock communicator.
Yes, all those,
Fashion way.
yes, all those avenues.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. That was it. Okay. I think that pretty much covers it. Are there any other questions? Member comments, announcements?
Just a very sincere thank you to Mr. Short for his volunteering to help us with that Mill Street Park project. Sounds like a big commitment, but
Well, you know who I am.
I know. Anyway, it's very, very generous of you, and we're,
I did tell Katie, though, I have to be gone for at least a week.
okay,
I'm not gonna give up my last fishing trip.
all right.
If you can take over while I'm gone.
We'll grant you that, and we'll figure out somebody to take over.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll just request a lot of rain that week.
It'll be well watered before I leave.
Okay.
It really takes a full year to guarantee, you can use the word guarantee, plant material.
Right.
And so it's constant, you really need to keep them hydrated.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Dan. That's
Yes,
very,
thank you.
very, very nice of you to do that.
Okay, and it's 7:02. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting at 7:02 PM.
Okay, thank you.